Let's get into it. Soul Not For... No, it's not that channel. I mix up the channel sometimes. Now, let's get into it. Coach Colin here. Hunter Biden has been found guilty on all charges in the gun case that he has. He has another case coming up soon, another federal case. In this case, he has been, and this is actually federal as well, but in this case, faces up to 25 years in prison as well. In this case, found guilty of all charges. The jurors all looked around and they said, you know, this guy for sure was high. He knew he was high. He knew he was an addict. He said that he wasn't. He had the firearm. And here's the thing I would like to know from everybody, right? How do you feel? I'm gonna play some things for you here. I'm gonna play some CNN because I want you to get some different perspectives. CNN, then Fox, then MSNBC, then we'll jump back to CNN because they have some closing remarks, a little spin that they're gonna be trying to do with this whole Hunter Biden conviction. How do you feel about not being able to have a firearm if you are on drugs or a drug addict? Because some people are very absolute. They're like, it doesn't matter. Constitution, you can own a firearm, period, done, point blank. It's been written. It's been said. And some people look at it and they go, okay, I kind of understand why you wouldn't want somebody who's on drugs to own a firearm. Let me know in the comments where you stand on that whole thing. Because I kind of get it, but I also know it's a right that everybody has. And there's no underlining thing. There's no footnote that says, except if you're on meth. Except if you're on meth and crack and cocaine. There's nothing that says that, right? So I just find it interesting. Either way, he got convicted. Let's play a little bit of this to give you guys a gist of what went down.
But Paula Reed has just walked outside of the court. She's joining us right now from Wilmington, Delaware. What's the latest you're hearing, Paula?
Well, the jury has found Hunter Biden, the president's son, guilty on all three counts in this case after 3 hours of deliberation. Count 1 is a false statement in the purchase of a firearm. Count 2 is false statement related to information required to be kept by a federal firearms license dealer. Count 3 is possession of a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user or addicted to a controlled substance. So he has been found guilty on all three counts. Now, the jury here is comprised of 6 men and 6 women. It is a majority black jury. This is day 7 of this historic trial. This is the first time that the child of a sitting president has faced a criminal prosecution. This is the first of 2 criminal trials that he will face after a plea deal that he negotiated fell apart. Now, over the past 7 days, he has enjoyed enormous support from his family, including his stepmother, the First Lady of the United States, who has been here for many days during this trial, other family members, friends of the family, clergy members. He has had dozens of people here showing support for him. And it was notable yesterday that at the beginning of the prosecutor's closing argument, they pointed to the gallery where the First Lady has been sitting and said, those people, they don't matter. What matters here is the evidence. And here, the jury believes that the prosecution proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Hunter Biden was guilty of all 3 of these crimes. Now, the most difficult challenge for prosecutors, Wolf, was proving that Hunter Biden knowingly lied throughout the course of this process, that he was aware of the fact that he was either using or addicted to drugs. And they pointed yesterday to the fact that shortly before he purchased this gun that he had been recently in rehab. So prosecutors said, look, if he hadn't just been to rehab, maybe we could buy the idea that he wasn't aware of the fact that he had a problem with substance abuse. But again, after 3 hours of deliberation, a jury here in Wilmington, Delaware, finding the president's son guilty on all 3 counts.
And Paula potentially faces what, a maximum of about 25 years in jail. Is that right?
Yeah, look, sentencing is much more of an art than it is a science. That is the far upper range of the sentencing guidelines. But he is, of course, a first-time offender, so we don't expect that he would get a sentence anywhere near that. But that is the upper end of the sentencing guidelines for these specific offenses. And also, this is the second the first of 2 trials that he will face. He will face a second trial in September later this year on tax-related charges. Now, we have a new flurry of activity coming out of the court. I'm going to have our reporter just come over and tell us what else they're learning, because obviously the most important thing was the verdict, but we're also getting other information, including color about his reaction. There was great hope within Hunter Biden's legal camp that perhaps they would get a hung jury here in Wilmington, that people would believe that this was an unfair prosecution, that nobody else who had a different name would face this case. It is, objectively speaking, a very unique case, but here the jury believed that the prosecutors proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Major development. Hunter Biden guilty of all 3 counts in this trial that's been going on, and potentially right now, Paula, give us a sense, Paula. Will he be incarcerated awaiting sentencing, or will he be able to go home?
No, we don't expect that he will be detained pending sentencing. It's unclear how long it'll take for him to get a sentencing date that will likely be set today. And just like former President Trump, we've seen up in New York, there's a whole process ahead of sentencing. But as I said, he has another federal trial in September, so it's unclear exactly when his sentencing date will be. But we fully expect that he will likely be out and about, still a free man, even though he is facing this conviction, until his sentencing. And then I would expect that there will be a series of appeals. But there are questions about just how many resources he has remaining to fund his legal defense. He is right now not working. His longtime friend and attorney, Kevin Morris, has been paying most of his legal bills. But Wolf, it's not just these criminal trials that he's facing. He and his lawyers are pursuing this very aggressive, litigious campaign against his detractors. They have a lot of civil lawsuits that are costing them money, but I fully expect he will appeal this verdict and ultimately the sentence. And he may make a brief statement after court. We'll see how he's feeling after this conviction.
Very interesting. You know, somebody said, I saw an article, it said that Biden is sacrificing his son for democracy. And I would say he's sacrificing his son for the illusion of democracy. That's how it feels to me. He seems like he's more of a fall guy, because it's just, in reality, when you think about this, it's just the tip of the iceberg in regards to what we know, or what everything is alleged, from China to Ukraine, Russia, money, all this stuff. This is the smallest thing. Trump even said that months ago. He was like, this is out of everything that he could be accused of, this is the smallest thing. It's true. It's almost like he's a fall guy, right? Nobody wants to get into the case about who the big guy is. Can't get into that right now. It's election time, right? So it's almost like, sacrifice his son for the illusion of democracy so he could continue doing what he's doing to Trump and make it all look on the up and up. It's like, hey, look, it's happening to my son too. And it's happening to you too, Donald. It's fine. It's all justice. I don't know. Seems a little iffy, but at the same time, he got convicted. What she just said. Did he know he was using / addicted to drugs? Hey, see, that's probably what got the black jury upset. They're like, excuse me, did he know he was using crack? It's quite a process. I have to say, I'm just saying, all right? I've never done it, okay? I was always a green guy myself, but there's quite a process to it. There's pipes and glass. You're lighting things. I think he would know if he was doing things. Yeah, I'm just saying. I don't know. It's hard to just do that and not know. Guys, that glass pipe that was going around wasn't crack, was it? Ah, shoot. It's just itching late at night. Man. Hope those brownies didn't have crack in them. Get out of here. Of course he knew. And of course he obviously knew he was addicted. He just went to rehab. And it was something that he's been fighting with a long time. Not to downgrade anybody going through addiction. I've gone through it myself. I'm only, I'm going on 2 years clean myself. Again, I'm just a green guy, but people struggle with that type of thing. And it's a triumph no matter who it is. Even if it's Hunter Biden, that's a triumph that he's gotten over that whole that whole demon that takes over so many people. So good for him, but found guilty. Let's play another clip. That was CNN. Now you're gonna get some of Fox's perspective. Check this out.
She was a very fair judge in my view. She ruled for the defense and for the prosecutors on different issues. She went right down the middle of the road, and I think in the end, justice was done here. This jury was able to overcome a nullification strategy. I think part of the problem was that Abby Lowell, the defense attorney, put forward a bunch of defenses in the opening statement that collapsed within 48 hours. The prosecutors did an extraordinarily good job here. They were focused, they were disciplined, and they methodically took apart each of these defenses in front of the jury. And when you pursue a nullification strategy, it can go too far sometimes. It make the jury feel like they're being treated as chumps. And I think that here the jury followed their instructions.
Jonathan, excuse me, we're seeing the First Lady Jill Biden walk into the courthouse. So it's taken a little bit longer for all of the family members to reassemble. We saw Hunter Biden go a few minutes ago back into the courthouse. But we knew that once a verdict had been reached, at least he would return, and maybe even all of that family. Previously, we saw Joe Biden's brother James go in, too. So they are reassembling ahead of the reading of this verdict. Jonathan, finish your thought.
Well, you know, that was an interesting moment to have the First Lady come in, because I'm sure the prosecutors were not happy with having this array of Biden family members, very famous figures, behind Hunter. It reminded this jury that this is Biden town. You know, this is Wilmington. This is where the Bidens reside. And it says a lot about the jurors that they overcame that. There was obvious sympathy for the defendant. I had sympathy for the defendant. When you hear his account of his struggle with drugs, you can't be anything but empathetic. But there was also an unavoidable series of criminal acts in all of this. And by saying things like he might not have checked the box, or he had a moment of sobriety, or maybe he was just using alcohol, really, I think, might have insulted some of the jurors. The way that Lowell made it sound is that the question meant, are you doing drugs while you're purchasing this weapon?
While you fill out the form.
He narrowed it so much. Right.
Right, and what the witnesses told, right down to his ex-girlfriend, who was the wife, now widow, of his brother Beau, was just how extensive that drug use was around about the time that he bought that gun. And she knew how bad it was. Let's just remember, she knew how bad it was.
Man, that's wild. You know, he had a moment of sobriety when he was checking that box. He was just like, oh, geez, I got some forms here. No, hold the pipe, thank you. I just got some forms here I gotta sign. Let's check this box. Whew, feeling quite sober. Here. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna make fun of a guy. I'm just saying that's crazy. That's crazy, a moment of sobriety. That would make a bunch of jurors, especially majority black, especially if they know about Joe Biden's past. They're like, this guy made the 1994 crime bill. You guys are saying to me right now that his son had a moment of sobriety while he was checking a box after he came out of rehab and was doing drugs. Listen here. Your son's going to jail, sir. Every black juror was just like, I put this one up for guilty? We doing hands? Are we doing hands, y'all? Can we just do this quick? I don't have time for all this. Can we just do this quick? I got a Trump rally to get to. I got a Trump rally to get to. Can we just do this quick? We putting up this hand? This one's for guilty. All right, I'm gonna just hold like this. Now you guys talk about it. I'm just gonna hold like this. You with me? All right, let's just get this done. Hey man, and honestly, poor Jill. Listen, I know some people, they feel like, oh, she understands where her husband's at cognitively, and they kind of look at her very poorly for him, you know, being in the position that he's in. But poor her, when she just made this appearance, she was coming from France. So she's with Biden in France. And if you don't know, he was doing all sorts of weird stuff. He was looking around at things that weren't there. Everybody's pointing this way and he's turned around this way. And then he squats down like this. And everybody's like, it was like a toddler moment. He's doing all sorts of wild stuff like that. She's trying to keep him in check. And then directly after that, she puts him to bed for a nap. And then she has to go all the way to some courthouse. And her son's like, I think I'm going to get 25 years in jail, Mom. It's like, oh my God. Crazy. Poor lady, man. Moms, man. Moms, wives, they go through so much for us. For all the nonsense that we do as guys. Wow. Kids, guys, kids, husbands. It's ridiculous. Poor her, man. Just running around like that. Could you imagine? You're dealing with your husband and your husband is in the shape we all see him in. And how sad that is, right? Because she seems very able-bodied. She seems very with it, right? And then you got to face that mortality aspect that he's not going to be around forever. And then your son, he's just, he's clean and that's great. But then at the same time, he has all these court cases and he could go to jail. And it's just like, oh my gosh, man. Poor lady, honestly, man. I feel for her. I may not like her. I may not like the way Biden operates and everything that he does, but man, she deserves better than that, Here, I'm just going to play this quick part. This is from MSNBC as well.
I have to say, as a side note, Jose, Jill Biden was in court most of the time in the front row, and defense counsel always encouraged defendants to have family support there. Here you have the first lady, and the jurors just disregarded it, really, and found him guilty. So it could be that it really doesn't have much of an impact on a jury.
Of course it doesn't have an impact. You kidding me? They don't care about all that. Again, especially if they know about Joe Biden and his past. Everything that's going on with Joe Biden right now in regards to, the black community. And Joe Biden's probably like, just get a black jury. Son, just get a black jury. The blacks love me. I got Kamala here. That's not Kamala. That is the maid. What do you mean? Kamala's, that's you, no? Either way, the blacks, they love me. You get a black jury, it'll be fine. Dad, we are in, please leave. We're in the court right now, okay? We are in a courtroom. I know, I'm just saying, you get a bunch of blacks. Come on, are you kidding me right now? They love me. They always love me, except for that corn pop. But the rest of them love me. Dad, be quiet. Come on, I'm the big guy. You got to listen to me. Shh, Dad. Shh. Please. I'm going to go to jail. I know, and it's fine. Don't worry about it. We have billions of dollars from Ukraine. Dad, get out. Be quiet. Get out. Mom, take him out of here. I'll take him to France, honey. I'm kidding. That doesn't happen. That didn't happen. But it's fun to think about, right? It is fun to think about. Let's get into this last clip here. CNN. And this is the spin that they're going to be trying to put on a lot of people right now with this whole thing.
Look, this is obviously a painful and difficult moment for the whole Biden family. No parent wants to see something like this happen. I think, considering how quickly the verdict came down, we saw the prosecution's case. It's not that surprising. I do think it's notable that Hunter Biden's trial and this conviction is an example of no one being above the rule of law, including the president's son, and stands in stark contrast to how former President Trump behaved up in New York, coming out every day, calling the judge corrupt, saying it was rigged, witch hunt. And I think it's also notable that President Biden has said that he will not pardon his son.
Yeah, and he would honor the verdict, whatever that
Correct.
would be. Evan Osnos is still with us.
Oh, that's great. That's great. He's not going to pardon his son. Fantastic. Hey, you can't just do that in front of everybody during an election when you're calling the other guy a dictator. You can't just be like, I'm going to pardon my son. Hey, listen, I know there's a jury, okay? Blacks, hello, blacks. Good to see you guys. I'm just going to pardon my son. I'm going to have him leave right now. Is that okay? Or where's this going to go? I want to take him to see where his uncle was. We're going to go to Papua New Guinea, see if we can find some of his bones. You know, they ate him out there, son. Let's go. Come on. No, he can't do anything like that. He can't just pardon his son. That would look crazy if he did that. So I'm not going to give him a pat on the back for not pardoning his son. That's not something that he could do in front of all of our eyes right now. And honestly, they're going to keep doing this type of spin. They're going to keep comparing him to Trump when he should just be compared to himself. He's just Hunter Biden. There's no need to compare the two really at all. And I'm going to show you a little statement that the Trump campaign made also. But there's no need to compare him to Trump. And that's what they're going to be doing constantly. You know, this woman, she just said, oh, you know, Hunter wasn't outside of the courtroom every day. It's because he did the thing. It's different. And this is just I'm wearing a Trump shirt, okay? Like, you know, I'm aware. I'm aware of my biases, but at the same time, you got to look at this with some common sense, right? Hunter did it. We're talking about him being on drugs and filling out this thing and saying that he wasn't on drugs. And then his defense is maybe he had a moment of sobriety. He was high, and then when he got to the box to check off, he was like, I actually feel kind of good. I feel really good. And then he checked the box. Like, it's just nonsense. It's complete nonsense. So he did the thing. He can't come out in front of the courtroom and be like, I did nothing wrong. I did absolutely nothing wrong. Because people would be like, well, were you high? And he'd be like, yeah, I was doing a lot of stuff. I just came out of rehab and I was still doing stuff and I wanted a gun. So he can't say anything like Trump could. So it's a little different in my opinion, but they're going to keep on spinning it. I've been watching this all day because I was in the gym. Hotel has a gym. I'm in the gym. MSNBC's on. I'm switching back and forth between CNN and MSNBC, you know, because I need a mental workout as well. But I'm listening to this, and a lot of what the spin they're trying to put on this is, and you're going to see it more and more, is that this is bad for Trump because it shows no one is above the law, and you know the Trump verdict is fine. This shows that Biden is not prosecuting his political opponent. It shows that just no one's above the law, and everybody's going to get prosecuted for everything that they're in question about. But that's not true. Because he himself is in question about things. His son is in question about more things. And nobody's touching that stuff whatsoever. So you're going to hear that more and more. This little spin that they're doing constantly. And somehow it's going to reflect badly on Trump that Hunter Biden actually broke the law and got convicted. It's wild. But watch for it. Watch for it. You're going to hear that quite a bit. This is the statement that the Trump campaign made recently. They said that this trial is nothing but a distraction from the real crimes of the Biden crime family, which is raked in tens of millions of dollars from China, Russia, and Ukraine. Crooked Joe reigns over the Biden family criminal empire. Trump had to have he wrote this statement himself. It's all coming to an end on November 5th, and never again will a Biden sell government access for personal profit. So that is the statement that they made as soon as Hunter was found guilty. A little harsh. They're like, this is a distraction. Get out of here with this. Put him in jail or don't. Listen, this is what we need. But, you know, it's true. It's true. Trump said this a long time ago. He said this is the smallest thing because people were like, they were trying to pull this narrative off before. They were like, well, you're getting prosecuted, but Hunter's also getting prosecuted for this firearm thing. And Trump was like, that's the smallest thing out of everything that he could possibly be prosecuted for. And then he brought up these exact things. Like, what about China? What about Russia? What about the business? What about the big guy? What about the 10%? Who were those? Like, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's a little wacky that not what the Trump campaign said, but the fact that this is the only thing that we're focusing on. And after this is done, it's like, well, nothing else to talk to Hunter about. I hope that's not the case. He does have another case coming up. I don't know how far everything's going to go. He's definitely not going to do a day in jail. That's not going to happen, quite honestly. And if you notice, also, when we're talking about no one's above the law, what they did with Trump, they put him in New York. They put him in Manhattan. Okay. Very left leaning. First off, New York, very left leaning. Starting to flip now within the Black and Hispanic communities, but very left leaning in Manhattan. Right. They give him a juror, all people from Manhattan. If they had mixed it up, would have been a completely different thing. You got one person from Brooklyn, the Bronx, like the Bronx area, South Bronx area, probably would have been a hung jury, quite honestly. But they made sure everybody was from Manhattan. District attorney, very left leaning, going on the whole premise of getting Trump. Judge, Democrat, daughter's a Democrat. He donated to the Biden family. All of these things against Trump. And then when you look at Hunter's actual case, the judge, again, Democrat. The fact that the Bidens actually, they brought it up in the Fox piece that I showed you. This is where the Bidens preside. You have the first lady sitting behind him. There's all these elements that kind of cushioned it for Hunter, and he still got convicted because it's very, very clear what was going on, Plus, I mean, he's a wild boy. Everybody knows about the whole thing. He's a wild boy. I mean, he's like Charlie Sheen level. He's Tiger Blood level. There's levels to this stuff. He's a wild boy. I'm glad that he's clean, though. I will say that again. I'm very glad that he's clean, because you can only do stuff like that for so long before it catches up to you. And I've had so many friends succumb to that type of stuff, and it's very sad no matter who it happens to. So I'm very glad that he's clean. But the fact that they're going to try and spin this and make this look bad on Trump because Biden's son broke the law is just mind-boggling. I have not stretched for that type of mental gymnastics as of yet. I don't know about you. Other than that, guys, please like the episode, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications. It all helps tremendously. And other than that, I'm out.